Before we get into the checkup this week, Ricky Flex, I also wanted to talk about you've been watching. It's Boba Fett, dude. You saw Boba Fett.
Wait, Mandalorian?
Yeah, the Mandalorian intro into season 3.
It's just like that was the best episode, and it didn't even have Boba Fett.
So what do you think about this decision to have a whole episode of the Book of Boba Fett dedicated to the Mandalorian? What do you think about this idea? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What to do for the whole series?
I think, speaking of formulaic, this is just also like a part of the Marvel Disney equation here, and now Star Wars. It's just now you got to watch everything. They're all connecting, and I feel like that's what Star Wars is beginning to do. Like, obviously with Boba Fett coming in and getting his own show, it's like you had to watch The Mandalorian to see that. But now they're doing it literally inside, like, and advancing the Mandalorian story in that show inside another show, which I find like terrible. But it was also amazing to watch. Like, it was great. It was the only good episode of the Boba Fett series, I think, in my mind. But I don't like the idea of it, but I liked it.
They kind of did the same. Like that. It's so interesting because to me, the Book of Boba Fett has been a disappointment, not a massive disappointment,
right?
It's just been like a regular disappointment.
It's kind of just been like
an average disappointment. If as the kids say, it's very mid. Okay. I don't feel like it's good or bad. It's just like, it's just there. I feel like episode 3 left me with such a sour taste in my mouth. Like, even like episode 4, when you had Fennec Shand, like in that relationship being they dove into it, and they find out the origins of their friendship between Boba Fett and her. I found that to be interesting, but it still didn't exactly save my thoughts from episode 3. What do? They bring in the one that made Star Wars TV so watchable and made the Book of Boba Fett even possible with the Mandalorian. I just found it's so interesting because when the Mandalorian first came out as a series, you saw the look of the Mandalorian, right? Pedro Pascal wearing that suit, and everyone before the first season said, okay, when is Boba Fett going to show up? We wanted to see that so bad. And then we finally got the Book of Boba Fett. And now we're saying, this stinks. Give us the Mandalorian. We weren't sold on the Mandalorian at first. We wanted a Book of Boba Fett.
That's a good point. You see
how we like reverse it now. Now it's like we see the Book of Boba Fett. And we're like, thank God we have the Mandalorian.
I'm telling you.
We can't satisfy any of these fans. But I'm so happy. It was the best episode. It was the most intriguing, but it just had nothing to do with the story other than the fact that he sees Fennec Shand at the end.
Yeah, no. And that could have been done like saying we need muscle at the end of season 4. And then they just flash to her like approaching Mandalorian. Not even have the conversation. You just get it as the audience, like, oh, he's going to go work for them. You didn't even need to like have a whole episode dedicated to it. It was because that will help for the show. Yep. It's like, all right, that's going to be a callback for the show. And what the premise of that season 3 is going to be from this episode. So you have to watch this. And again, I'm going to say this again. You got to keep the helmet on. Like, that's why the Mandalorian is so cool. Because the allure, like the mystique behind it, and the intimidation factor, the sleekness, everything. Him just having his helmet off all the time, this automatically turns you off.
Like Mandalorian just looks so much cooler than Boba Fett. And but like Boba Fett, and he's like Boba Fett's like slightly out of shape. He's older. His armor doesn't cover his entire body. Like, it has that separation between, like, that doesn't cover his torso.
Right.
You know? It just doesn't look as cool. He doesn't have the cape. And then also we see Mando. It basically, this was an intro. It's like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a prelude to the next season of Mandalorian, talking about the Darksaber. Does he know how to wield it? Okay. And you have characters from the Mandalorian, previous Mandalorian season, right? That woman who's helping work on his ship, right? The fighter, like the starfighter or whatever.
She's annoying.
That was a cool callback to episode 1. Okay.
Yeah.
With the pod racers, but it was just really, really weird how he hijacked the series and how everyone's just like okay with it. We're just like, okay, yeah, take it from Boba Fett. So we kind of just don't like Boba Fett, and we can expect to see Mando at the end of the series not only just helping out Boba Fett, but returning potentially with Grogu. Of course, like they can't help themselves. Like Star Wars and Disney can't help themselves. If there's like after the electricity of the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, are we just not going to have a cute little Grogu showing up, Baby Yoda? What do you think about the possibility of him showing up?
I don't want him to show up. Like,
neither do I. But it's just soon.
I want him to be like, this is what I want. If Disney could think long term on this, we could have, there's 2 options you could do. Have a separate series with Grogu becoming a Jedi, have like a
Oh,
coming of age,
he's gonna get a spinoff as soon as he's able to talk.
or he doesn't get anything, and then he becomes like Yoda, like, and he's a Jedi master, and then we just flash forward to a movie, another Star Wars trilogy, and Grogu's at the center of it.
And
Similar to Yoda.
Grogu's going to be like the Yoda of episodes 1, 2, and 3 eventually. When they decide, like, hey, let's make another trilogy for Star Wars to go after the sequel trilogy and what Rian Johnson was supposed to do or whatever.
Right.
We're going to have Grogu be the Yoda in episode 1, 2, and
But
3.
if
People are going to come back and say, hey, you're replicating Star Wars again. Like, no, duh. Like,
that's what we do. But no, but it makes like that makes sense. But if he goes back to the Mandalorian, then he can't be a Jedi. Then none of this could happen. So they could lose out on billions of dollars if they don't think long term on this. They're thinking, oh, we'll take the millions here.
I wish they would do like Mando helps out Boba Fett, and then it leaves him like, okay, I'm leaving the planet now, right? To go find Grogu, sets up season 3 of the Mandalorian. That makes sense. Him coming back, like Grogu coming back for Boba Fett, that just shows you they never at no point did they think Boba Fett could carry the series on his own. They just had no faith in it.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Like they basically threw out the idea of a Boba Fett movie after like we had the Han Solo venture with Alden Ehrenreich and Ron Howard there and Phil Lord, Chris Miller, like their whole like confrontation. They wanted to have a Boba Fett movie and they scrapped it. And yet they finally get this series. And it's like, man, thank God we never got a movie because I don't think it would have panned out. Right. I really don't think it would have. And now we're having Mando come in, Grogu come in to kind of save it. Very fascinating. But I think it's way too soon for Mando to reunite with Grogu. They just left each other. Right? They just left each other.
They just did. And he's a Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. And like, are you going to have like a Luke series? Like, I wanted like potentially a spinoff of Luke, like potentially played by Sebastian Stan because they look so much alike. And it's like the internet goes crazy for it.
Yeah.
Like him training Grogu. But like if Grogu, once he's able to speak and he goes like maybe a spinoff with the Mandalorian or just on his own, that would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it could ruin it. They got to make sure they get the voice right.